A highly conflicting paper for me to review. One of the rare papers that had me taking many double takes. This is Hwa Chong Institution. I had to consider this paper from two perspectives. On the micro level, great! On the macro level, final Y in today's episode of PPR. Welcome back to another video. This is Yao from Vantage Tutor, a class above the rest. And for today's Prelim paper review, it is the final JC2 WA1 special. And it is from 2026 Hwa Chong Institution H2 Chemistry JC2 WA1. Now before I begin, these are the questions that I feel are insightful and probably worth your time to try. And if you would like to try this paper, you're invited to join my Telegram channel where I've uploaded a short summary along with the download link on my blog. Have a go at it, let me know how you did. And yes, I've started a tuition center, it's located near Boon Keng and SAJC. Regular classes are up and running and the full schedule can be found on my website. So what are you waiting for? Link is in the bio, sign up today and I'll see you there. Firstly, this paper was one of the hardest for me to rate. I had so much conflicting thoughts. Part of me really likes this paper, but if I look at my matrices objectively, it wouldn't be as high of a score that will reflect how much I actually like it. Why? Let's find out via my three matrices. Number 1 relevance, number 2 insightfulness, number 3 difficulty. Before I give an overall score, I recommend to you the type of student who should try this paper. And of course, if I had a student who had to sit for this paper under exam condition, what would be a fair expectation of her from me in order for her to score an A in her actual A levels? Firstly, relevance. This is a WA1. Some schools have included anchor question, but most schools like the one we've seen from ASR, CJ, TM, they did not include any anchor questions because of the short nature of it. This paper as well. And therefore, based on that, this paper is quite comparable to what we have seen before. But what makes this paper stand out is the questions that they set for the essay-based equilibrium. I like how most parts of the questions for essay-based equilibrium is very classic, but then part of it, they'll make it a small twist. Those are the questions that will really test a student's understanding beyond just doing practice-based questions. Meaning, if you have done your revision on essay-based equilibrium, you find yourself doing a lot of calculation, and sometimes just like your H2 math or A math in secondary school, you can just solve it because you have done it 1001 times. But it's the small parts at the back where they ask you to explain certain things. How is it that the buffer is better at managing acid being added versus base being added? Those are questions that I like to talk about. However, this is where the weakness of this paper comes in. They dedicated 2 whole questions to acid-based equilibrium when it could have just been 1. Cannot overlook this because of the rest of the paper. The KSP question is fine, but the organic chemistry part, the one on arenes, to me that question was the giveaway question. If you memorize the mechanism, you understand like 50% of it, you probably can score at least like 80% of the marks. And therefore, if you combine the 2 acid-based equilibrium questions together to form an anchor question with a more holistic approach, more marks could have been dedicated to your organic chemistry, where a bit more stretching could have happened there. As much as I like the questions individually, on a macro scale, in terms of its relevance, I think that's the weakness. And hence, the relevance of this paper was difficult for me to give, but I settled on 6.5 out of 10. Next, insightfulness. This I have quite a lot to say. Apart from the small parts in acid-based equilibrium, there really isn't much that this paper offers. Organic chemistry, the mechanism, they did not try to twist it like every other school that we have seen with an ICL molecule. And the synthesis question is what I said in the ASRJC Prelim paper review. It is actually a tutorial question. It's just testing you on directing group, and I'm pretty sure if you flip through any tutorials from any school, you would have found a similar question to that. And therefore, the weakness of this paper lies clearly in its organic chemistry. And this is very unusual if you compare it to what we have seen in previous years of Hwa Chong's promo paper or even their prelim papers. The organic chemistry part is usually where they shine. And then we move on to KSP. This is a very classic common ion effect kind of thing. You talk about your saturation, ionic product, and this question is just testing you on whether you understand the difference between ionic product versus your KSP. And unlike the one you have seen in TMJC, this is rather direct. 100 cm cube, 100 cm cube. Obviously, the concentration is going to be half. Unlike the one we've seen in TMJC where, because of the different volumes between the 2 solutions, the concentration is not just half. And therefore, this paper, the strength lies in its acid-based equilibrium, while the weaknesses is everywhere else. And therefore, as much as I like the small parts of certain questions, I have to be honest and give the insightfulness a rather disappointing and could have been more. 6 out of 10. Next, difficulty. I don't think this is a difficult paper. And if you're a Hwa Chong student thinking that this is the standard that they are going for your prelims or your mid-year exam or your TPE after June, you're going to be very much mistaken. Especially when it comes to organic chemistry, maybe their hands were tied in this paper due to the restricted scope. And to be frank with you, most of these questions comes across as something designed for the future batches, meaning these questions are going to be part of your revision packages. And that's what I meant. A lot of them are going to feel very familiar to you if you have done your due diligence. A lot of them will feel like a run-of-the-mill question, especially for the calculation part. They really did nothing with it. It was just a way for them to see whether you have been doing your tutorials, whether you were able to just do the calculation. You don't even have to understand too much about it. However, later on when your nitrogen compounds come in, when your amino acids come in, and you put them together with acid-base equilibria, these questions that you see in this paper will seem like a 1 out of 10 comparatively. And hence the difficulty of this paper is really not that high, but acid-base equilibria is easily one of the most challenging chapter in your H2 chemistry, and hence only in the context of your WA1. The difficulty of this paper will be given a slightly above average 6 out of 10. Overall, I like this paper on the micro level, but I don't like this paper on a macro level. A lot of these questions seem to be designed for the revision packages. That means it's going to be sorted into questions for your topical revision. But if you put all of this together as an exam paper, I don't see the coherence, I don't see the holistic approach that you tend to see in prelim papers, and that is for any JC. No doubt, individually, I think the questions are amazing. But if you put all of them together and telling me that this is a seated exam, it feels disconnected. It feels technical, and therefore not something that you would experience in an exam paper unless the teachers really try to make it easy for you. For the students who've done well for this paper, I congratulate you, because you have shown that you can do all these questions as a topic. But come June, come September, where your prelim paper is around, you may find that your acid-base equilibrium is not up to standard anymore. You may find that your organic chemistry, whatever you thought you knew based on memory, whatever you thought you knew based on drawing your mind map, is going to fail you miserably. And this to the Hwa Chong students. But there was a year that I reviewed a Hwa Chong paper. My student told me that your WA2 is open book test, and it was on organic chemistry, and yet most of them still failed, except mine. She had a sticker. And therefore, to me, this is a step up for you to eventually get to your WA2, where this is just a revision package, a welcome back to JC2. But would it necessarily give you a gauge in terms of how you will do for your subsequent tests and eventually your A levels? This paper doesn't cut it. And hence the overall score of this paper, on a micro level, I like it. On a macro level, I can't go any higher than a slightly above average 6 out of 10. And if I had a student who had to sit for this paper under exam condition, a fair expectation of her would be 70% in order for her to score an A in her actual A levels. Finally, who I recommend this paper to? I recommend this paper to the students who are looking to do a topical revision. None of you should be trying this under time practice, especially if you're trying to prepare for your very own WA1, or even worse, a holistic exam such as your mid-year exam, prelim paper, midterm check, whatever. Your exams then are very unlikely to be segregated like this, where it's clearly disconnected and is clearly topical based. But if I take out the questions individually and keep it in a bank as a tutorial revision, these questions are amazing. These questions will cover all the techniques that I want my students to know. In fact, this feels like a remedial package. And hence, if you are a student looking to do a topical revision on acid-base equilibria, solubility product, and your chapter of arenes, this paper will be perfect for you. Alright, so we have come to the end of this prelim paper review of 2026 Hwa Chong Institution H2 Chemistry JC2 WA1. Now, if you like what I'm doing, follow me on TikTok, like my video, comment, and share with a friend. And if you like a more extensive, in-depth analysis of this paper, go on to my YouTube channel, subscribe to me, and watch this video again. Because ultimately, I'm on my way to 10,000 followers, nothing else. This is Yaola from Tutor, a class above the rest. Take care.